Hi, I'm Mr. Wong,
Hi, I'm Ms. Bana.
and welcome to our presentation on helping you to choose between the three math classes that you see here, Applications of Advanced Math, Pre-Calculus, and Pre-Calculus Honors. So a little bit about the courses here. We're going to describe what is expected of you for the classes. In selecting your math class, you want to make sure that you choose the right class for you. This is dependent upon what math class you are currently taking right now, and also what grade you have in the class as well. You want to make sure that you're not kind of going in over your head and choosing a class that is going to be too difficult for you. So in terms of your grade expectations, do be aware that um, you want to be comfortable with the grade you get. Technically, a passing grade of a C is all that's needed to move on to the next math class. But if you're looking for something a little bit higher, then you may want to make sure that you choose an appropriate math class that is not too difficult for you. Um, Also, in terms of picking the math class, it's a good idea just to pick a class that kind of suits your interest. If you're a type of person, or if you're a person who feels like you know what you want to be studying after high school, let's say you want to go to college and you want to study something STEM related, maybe like a computer science major or a science major or even a math major, then pre-calculus and pre-calculus honors are great pathways for you to choose. If you're not so interested in anything STEM related, maybe you want to study something more along the liberal arts side, then you technically don't need pre-calculus or pre-calculus honors, and you may be giving yourself more of a headache than you really need. And you might even consider the option of applications of advanced math. So please make an informed decision there. Your teacher would be the best way to get advice on which pathway to take. Also, your guidance counselors are there to help you too. But please listen to the advice that you are hearing. Don't just shrug it off, because the people that know your math ability best would be your teachers and also speak to your guidance counselor. Also, you need to also remember that even though you may think you can handle the class itself, you need to consider that you are also taking other classes too. So, you might be able to take pre-calculus or pre-calculus honors and get an A in it if that were all you're taking. But remember, maybe you want to put in AP US history, right? Or AP biology or AP chemistry, physics, anything like that. Then you need to consider the other classes you're taking. And if they are also fairly difficult classes, very intense classes, then you will have less time to be able to spread among all your classes, and you might not do as well if you spread yourself thin. Okay.
Okay, so irrespective of the class you take, there are some things that you need to do to make sure that you succeed in that class. Most important is asking for help. Teachers are not mind readers. No one is a mind reader. So you need to tell them when you don't understand something. That's the most important one. Second is self-management. As Mr. Wong was saying, that it's not just this one class you're taking a bunch of classes, and then you also have some sports and you have some other extracurricular activities. You also need to eat, sleep, and watch some Netflix. So you need to manage time in a way that you can assign some time to each of these activities. Organization and note taking are super important. You cannot remember it all. And math is one of those subjects where it's like by doing, you learn. So you cannot just look at a problem and learn, you have to actually do the work. So these four skills are super important to be successful in any class that you take.
Okay, and here on this next slide here, you can see all the different pathways that you can be taking for math at Monte Vista. So the most important thing I think for you to get out of this slide here is that you'll notice that the pathways that you see here, the second row, applications of advanced math, pre-calculus and pre-calculus honors, they're all stemming from the third row in which you already should have taken algebra 2 and algebra 2 trig. This is the way you're going to find the most success in all three of these classes. You need to have taken algebra 2 and algebra 2 trig. I can't stress that enough. If you come from geometry and you're trying to skip your way over to pre-calculus or pre-calculus honors, you're going to find that it's going to be a very difficult time. Um, Some people even try to think, oh, I can try to do an Algebra 2 class over the summer, but summer classes are really not effective in getting all the material you need because you're doing it in such a short time, and there really is no retention there. And you're not covering all the skills you need for the classes here. So please be aware, you really should only be thinking about application of advanced math, pre-calculus, and pre-calculus honors if you have already taken a full year's course at Monte Vista of Algebra 2 and Algebra 2 Trig.
So here is our option about applications of advanced math. As Mr. Wang said earlier, that if you are thinking of going towards STEM fields, then pre-calc and pre-calc honors make sense. But many of you don't want to major in STEM, but you want to still take math and take a math class that's fun, that's enjoyable, hands-on, and also teaches you math in a practical way. So it's AAM option, the Applications of Advanced Math, is a great course at Monte Vista, which really helps you understand the practical applications of math that you are learning. So it does cover some of the pre-calculus curriculum, but the way the curriculum is taught is different from the pre-calc and pre-calc honors, or for that matter, any other math class. There's a lot of emphasis on using technology, and it's more like problem solving, that here is a problem, solve it using the math that you know or the math that you're learning. So it's kind of like backwards. You look at a problem and you're learning how to solve it rather than, oh, here is a formula and here are a bunch of problems and solve it. The good thing about this is that most of the work is assigned in class and completed in class, and you're working in smaller groups rather than individual work. So there's a lot of collaboration, and that's what makes it fun. And there is less overall content. So it's not a race to the finish that we have to complete these 10, 12 chapters. It's more like there are big ideas, big topics, and you learn each one in a project-based environment. And later, if you want to take AP Stats as a senior, then that's also an option because it really nicely ties into that AP Stats. But if you think you want to take AM and then go on to Calc, then that may not be a good option because you would have that gap in terms of not having learned pre-calc or pre-calc honors, whichever class. So consider AM. It's a great class, and so many of you would be such a great fit for this class.
The next class we're going to look at is pre-calculus. And in order to do well in pre-calculus, you really need to have a strong understanding of the Algebra 2 material. I guess kind of as a guideline, if you want to consider what strong is, it's kind of like getting an 85% a B level in Algebra 2. That's where you would at least find some success in pre-calculus. If you find that you're not getting an 85% in the class, then you may find yourself struggling. I know that during this remote learning period, your grades might also be inflated, so you also should be considering that. Maybe an 85% at this time is not quite a good representation of you moving forward. Maybe it's more like a 90%, and you'll need to ask your current math teacher for the best advice on that, on whether your teacher thinks it is appropriate to move on to pre-calculus. Okay? As I said earlier, it's really not advised to take Algebra 2 over the summer. It's really not a good indication that you have understood the Algebra 2 material. In fact, just kind of speaking from personal experience here, seeing some students come from an Algebra 2 summer course, I found that they really did struggle a lot in pre-calculus, and some ended up dropping the class. So you want to be aware of that. Okay. Now, in pre-calculus, 70 to 80% of your grade is also based upon your test and quiz scores. So your grade is really reflective on your true understanding of the material. It's not just about doing the work and, if you do your work, you're all good. You really need to make sure you understand the material. For that reason, it's really important that you understand how to take notes properly, how to read the textbook if you need to, and also be able to collaborate with your group members so that you can understand the material better. Also, it's important that you are being proactive about your own learning and that you get your own questions answered if you do have any. The tests and quizzes can be challenging, so you want to be aware that it is a difficult course. Pre-calculus, with no gimmicks here. It's a pretty difficult course. Okay, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, and so you just want to be aware that what you're getting yourself into here. You want to be able to apply your own learning as well. Just make sure that whatever you've learned, it's not just about memorizing formulas, but you know how to use those formulas in the correct ways. Every night you should expect to spend about 30 minutes on homework, and homework is given on a daily basis.
Okay, so for pre-calc honors, a lot of the things apply as in pre-calc. The same thing applies for pre-calc honors. For this course, you should have taken Algebra 2 trig. Usually kids who come in from Algebra 2, either you have really high grades and a good understanding of the concepts, but if you just had like a C or a B or even an A in Algebra 2, you may not be as successful. So Algebra 2 trig is what you need, and a strong foundation, not just having a C or a D, but having a solid foundation in Algebra 2 trig. That's what's needed. Same thing that if you take it during summer and you say, hey, I just looked at Algebra 2 trig over the summer, that's not enough time. 6 to 8 weeks for this type of course is just not enough. And you need to be able to work independently and proactively. So this is a fast-paced course. So some of the work will be assigned, and the expectation is that you are able to pre-read the chapters or watch the videos ahead of time, or we may do some problems in class, but then you may have to do a bunch of other problems at home at your own time. So there is that need to, if you just say that, hey, whatever is done in class is enough, then that's not. There is a fair amount of self-study for this course where you practice your skills, you ask questions, you review the work, you prepare for the tests. About 80 to 90% of your grade is based on test quizzes, so the homework grade is very less. And yes, note-taking, reading the textbook, these are, working in groups, these are essential. Homework is about 45 minutes a night, so about 225 minutes per week. Many students think that if you take pre-calc honors, then later on, hey, if it doesn't work for me, I can drop down. That may not happen because, the class sizes are sort of, the way the school decides on how big the classes are, they assign the sections. So you cannot just say that that many people drop from pre-calc honors class and go into pre-calc, because the pre-calc honors, pre-calc classes, they cannot get just too big and we have like 40 kids in a class. That's not going to happen. So it may not be possible switching classes. You may want it, but it may not be possible. Also keep in mind, if you're getting C or higher, C is a passing grade. So you cannot make this argument, hey, I have a C in pre-calc honors, therefore I'm dropping to pre-calc. That's not a valid argument, because C is a passing grade, you're passing the class. So do not count on this fact that, the switching classes may not be possible. Do not count on that. The last is that many kids think, oh, I will be in an honors class that'll impress the colleges. That's a misconception. Colleges basically look at students showing confidence in a course, showing competence in a course. And you show that by getting a higher grade. Just taking an accelerated course is not going to get you any brownie points with the colleges. What's going to get you a brownie point is that grade sitting there. So it's much better to have an A or a B in pre-calc rather than ending up with a C or D in pre-calc honors. And most of the kids somehow they just don't want to think about it, they ignore it. And this is very, very important for you to consider.
Okay, so in terms of the differences between AAM, Applications of Advanced Math, and PreCalculus, AAM does go over some PreCalculus concepts, but mostly it's going to be based off of like logical thinking, number sense, a lot of modeling data. They do some geometry and trig applications, as well as a lot of probability and statistics. And so through all those, you'll be making a lot of decision making. In pre-calculus, the focus is on functional analysis. You look at graphs, you do it numerically as well, and through algebraic methods. You study function families very similar to Algebra 2, but to a greater depth. and you interpret and evaluate solutions. You study both the real and the complex solutions, both algebraically and graphically. And you also study trigonometry and its applications more in depth than you would in Algebra 2 as well. As I mentioned before, just think about what your goals and interests are. Do you really want to go into something STEM related? Then maybe pre-calculus might be the route for you. But if you don't plan on going into anything STEM related, then applications of advanced math would be a great route for you. And by taking AM, as Ms. Bana had mentioned, you can still go into an AP class taking AP statistics, and that's a great route for many people. Okay, so think about your future. Think about what class would best be suited for what you're trying to get to. Okay. Also, the other consideration is just how loaded up are all your other classes. Are you taking lots of APs or advanced classes? Then you need to consider your workload, and you want to make sure that you can actually manage your time. The last thing you want is to be able to not get any sleep, to be pulling all-nighters, and you're just stressing yourself over something that could have been avoided if you had chosen the right class. So do be aware of that. And also consider your learning style. Are you someone who can study proactively, independently, right? And you can really get your questions answered. Are you one who kind of picks things up really quickly, or do you need a little bit more hand holding, a little bit more support? And so, you want to consider that too. Remember that pre-calculus is going to be an intense class. AAM, you'll find a little bit of an easier time. As Ms. Bana had mentioned, most of the work is done in class. And so you can actually free up some of your time outside of school to focus more on your other classes. Okay, so again, ask your current teacher for some advice because your current teacher will know your math ability the best.
So the difference between pre-calc and pre-calc honors, when you finish pre-calc, you will go to Calc AB. Some students may go to BC depending on how well they did. Similarly, for pre-calc honors, it's not like everyone is going to go to BC. You can go to BC if you have a good grade and high enough grade, and then otherwise you can take AB. Now, in terms of the differences, there is the pacing. So pre-calc honors covers the content at a faster pace. The amount of content, so there are some extra topics in pre-calc honors, like we talk about, polar coordinates, and then there are some matrices which are not covered in pre-calc. And even the topics that overlap, the questions in pre-calc honors may be a little bit harder, or we may do the in-depth problems more than just the easy ones. And of course, that leads to time commitment. Pre-calc honors requires much more time in terms of doing the homework, practice in class, than pre-calc. And that again leads to more self-reliance, that there would be fair amount of independent work in pre-calc honors as compared to pre-calc. So all these together make the pre-calc honors a more challenging course than pre-calc. Pre-calc is a good option for students who look for additional support because there is the pacing. It's a slower paced course. It covers a lot of content and it's a rigorous course. So don't take my words and say that, pre-calc is easy peasy. No, it's not. Mr. Wong already told you, it's both these classes are rigorous classes. This is pre-calculus, so you are in the big books of math. So keep that in mind. But comparatively, pre-calc honors is more rigorous and more challenging than pre-calc.
So this is basically our textbook that we use if you just want to get a heads up into just what the pre-calculus textbook looks like. We're using the PreCalculus Advanced with Enhanced with Graphing Utilities. It looks like this. It's a pretty thick book, pretty new, and it's published by Pearson, and the ISBN number is located there.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. And if you have additional questions, talk to your math teacher. He or she is the best person to advise you. Bye for now.
Bye.